Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sweet Home Catoosa. My name is Richard Tharp. I'm your host today, and today we're honored. We have Marissa Brower, the CEO, and we are here at the College and Career Academy, the Dina D. Reese College and Career Academy, from here to career. So we're going to have a special episode today. Marissa is going to take us inside and take us on a phenomenal tour of this facility, and then we'll go back to the studio and talk about all the great things that this has to offer to the community, the opportunities, how you could be a part of this. But we felt that it was important for you, the citizens, to see what this is, and we can have Marissa take us on a phenomenal tour. She has been here from day one, from start of construction all the way through, and it's just phenomenal. So thanks for tuning in. Marissa, it's all fixing to be you. Let's go on inside.
Let's go inside. Welcome to Catoosa's From Here to Career College and Career Academy. We opened this facility in August of 23, and we have had the most phenomenal school year in this building. So it's my pleasure to take you on a tour. I want to begin by telling you that our mission here is to engage students in a career-focused education in a values-driven culture to prepare our students to excel. And I mentioned that while we're standing here in the Commons because you can see part of our values on the walls from here in the Commons area and down the hallway. So when we asked our board of directors who makes decisions for this school the values that were important to them, they gave us the words that described the picture of the graduate that they would want. So you're going to see those things through here, but I will go ahead and tell you that we say this is where the magic happens, because our culture values spell magic. So message awareness, accepting responsibility, gaining respect, having integrity, and making a commitment to their future. So let's go on the tour.
Yeah, that's true. That's great, Marissa. So it's great that they walk in here and they have just, it just hits them as soon as they walk in, I accept responsibility for my decisions and actions. Because with the youth today, that's huge. The message, I communicate in a professional manner to promote collaboration and teamwork. So, we're taking our youth and we're not just teaching them trades and skills, we're teaching them life skills here. And that's what to me was phenomenal when I came on the tour. And you could see it in the children as they come out and interact with us as we were on the tour. It was just amazing, the life skills they're learning, not just a physical hard skill as well.
Well, and I'll tell you, Richard, I started this project in 2017. So I have spent 7 years communicating with business owners like yourself, with manufacturers, with industry in our area. And the number one thing that they said was that our young people do not have the work ethics and the soft skills to be successful in industry or in life.
That's right.
And so we do something very unique here, and I can't wait to show you that upstairs. We do something that is very unique in how we are intentionally teaching our students emotional intelligence skills.
That's amazing.
But first, we're going to look at our labs. So we started, like I said, we started this in 2017, doing a lot of surveys, industry research, and the pathways we have here represent the high demand, high paying careers in our region. So the first one is machine tool technology.
So let's go on in and take a look.
Machining is a very high demand career in our area, and we are very fortunate here to have an amazing teacher, and we are teaching both the manual and CNC machining processes. So you want to come back on into the lab and let me show you the equipment?
This equipment, Marissa, is state of the art. It's amazing.
Well, and all of the equipment is funded with our East Boss pennies, combined with a $3 million grant that I got from the Technical College System of Georgia, and about $490,000 in Peach education tax credits.
And that's great. And see, that's what a lot of folks say. A lot of times they say, hey, I pay a tax. What does my tax dollars do? Well, this is the tax dollars at work.
Yes.
This is it, the machines, but look at this, they're helping the children in our community. So this is amazing. So this is just one of the great pods starting out on the tour, as you can see.
So these are the manual machines here, and then our CNC machines are in the front of the classroom, or in front of the lab, actually. You'll see a sign here, Signal Machine, that's just across the street is on our board, and they are one of our big supporters in this pathway. Interstate Machine Works is also a supporter, and Metro Boiler for this pathway.
And that's what's great about it is you had folks in the community, like you said, business owners that say, hey, we have a need. We have employees that we need to find somehow, and finding and retaining help is such a key component to any business. And so sure, they partner here because they see the benefit. We get to take these kids right out of school that have a hard skill now because of the College and Career Academy, and we can bring them in and indoctrinate them into our culture right away. And that's just huge for children. It's huge for businesses here. It provides work for people in our community, jobs, and pathways that these children probably didn't realize they wanted to be a part of. So this is phenomenal.
Well, and I'll tell you, we started out with the value promise to our students to connect to their brilliance. And then we also then added a promise to our employers that we were going to connect them to a new talent pipeline. So we had 2 seniors that were graduating after 1 year in this program. One of them was hired by Interstate Machine Works, and the other was hired by Metro Boiler. So we're helping our industry partners to fulfill those critical needs that they have to have in order to continue economic prosperity.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's go on to the next one. Wow. Another state-of-the-art facility. And so this pathway is for what, Marissa?
This is our welding pathway. So welding is a dual enrollment pathway with Georgia Northwestern Technical College. So our instructor is dual credentialed to teach high school and college credit. So our students in this program are earning technical college credit and technical college certificates. So they are industry credentialed to go straight into the workforce when they graduate after 2 years. So we have 3 students who graduated this year in this pathway, and they are all 3 employed with Metro Boiler.
That's phenomenal.
This is welding is a high demand pathway for our employers as well as our students. This is a student favorite.
Yeah, you could tell. I mean, so yeah, I look over here and I see they have their names on all this where, you know, they come on and they do their welds here, and then I'm sure they get graded on that. But I mean, that's amazing. And that is a lost art. You know, a lot of these hard skills now seem to be a lost art in society today. The kids seem to want to go more towards a technical or online or, you know, IT background, but the hard skill stuff is what is actually in such demand. And so what's happened is I've seen those employers have to pay a larger wage to attract them. So coming out of this is just a phenomenal way for somebody right out of high school to come in and find a world-class type job that there'll always be demand for the rest of their life. It's not like it's a fad where it'll come and go. So this is just great. So
do you want to look in a weld booth?
Yes, let's do that. That's what I was looking at. So we've got all these booths here.
We also have a cobot welder. We're one of the few, this is a robotic welder. We're one of the few high schools in the state to have a cobot.
That's amazing.
Let's look in this one. This one's actually a weld booth. That one's like a grinding booth.
So let's see. Okay, so So we see, so the students could come in here obviously and be in a protected environment and learn how to do all these welding skills is so important. That's amazing. It's just phenomenal.
And you'll see up here signs from some of our industry partners who want their names in front of our students all the time.
Yeah, that just shows you here again the demand that's out there in our community for these jobs, that these people are willing to say, hey, we want to partner with you, Marissa, because we need these jobs filled. And so it's just crucial. So it's just amazing to me the amount of money that was put into this to be a world-class facility.
And the great thing is that our partners also invest in our programs. So they're giving us consumable supplies that our students need so that we're not having to purchase all that.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Let's go in through the classroom.
Yeah, that's great.
Right. So, Richard, when we talk about our values, this is another part of how we reinforce our values in the classroom, because our students work with their teacher at the beginning of the year to come up with a social contract. And so here you're going to see we have one for AM and one for PM, and the students are asked questions, and determine how they want to be treated in the classroom. The teacher lets them know how he or she wants to be treated, and then they decide how they're going to treat each other. So like here, you're going to see things: respect, honesty, polite, responsible, all these things that they came up with. Then they sign the social contract, and that is, they create a self-managing classroom. So if somebody is kind of, like if you're not being respectful, somebody can check you. And our principal calls it, check yourself before you wreck yourself. But it works so well because the teacher does not even have to interrupt instruction. If something's not going the way it should, he or she can just walk by and kind of check them. And that tells the students how you're either doing something you shouldn't be doing, or you need to start doing something you're not. And so it is teaching those students how to self-manage their behavior.
That's incredible. You just don't see that as much as we need to see it in our schools today, I think, in a lot of times. So it's amazing here that, yes, they signed that contract. And so that gives them some buy-in, I guess you could say. So that's amazing, Marissa.
And if we had students in here that were explaining it to you, they'd ask you to sign the social contract.
That's great.
Let's go on to construction.
All right.
So this is also a dual enrollment pathway.
Okay.
So the students are earning construction management certificates. And I'll tell you, this is a great example of how we listened to industry. Because when former Superintendent Reese and I were planning, thinking about our pathways, doing research, we thought, okay, we'll do plumbing and electrical. Then we listened to our industry partners that said we would rather this be a construction management pathway, so the students actually learn the whole construction process. So they're learning how each part fits into the job. Then if they want to specialize when they get out of high school, they can. But they're learning the whole process in this program.
Well, obviously, you know, that's a little near and dear to me. I'm in the construction world myself. So, yeah, this is just amazing. Here again, when I came through with you, they were building things. They were actually building a small house, but they were doing it in a way that if you blew that up to scale, it was actually built to code. And so it was amazing to me that they were learning all those things, the codes and the things like that we need in our world to make sure we're building it correctly.
Well, and I'll tell you a great thing too, these students, so when you see the flags out, which is one of my favorite things on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, our students built some of the crosses for them to put out this year at Memorial Day.
That's amazing, because I think everybody in the city of Ringgold, especially right now, they're out for Memorial Day, and we drive by and we see those, and we're very patriotic and proud of that.
Yes.
But to know that the children in here help build those, that's amazing, Marissa. That's just amazing. And here again, partnership in the community.
Yes, and real life projects for them.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I see, you know, they learn how to use a forklift. They, you know, it's not just a hammer and a nail. There's a lot to it in the construction world. And so, you know, yeah, what an amazing skill to learn every aspect of the construction phase, but construction management especially, that's a big deal.
So when we were looking for property, making the plans for this school, Superintendent Reese worked with the county commissioners, and they actually deeded us this plot of land that is perfect because it is equidistant from all three of our high schools.
That's what I was going to say.
And so it's right in the center of the community on this beautiful Benton Place campus, and they had this piece of property and they transferred it to us. But they asked, hey, could you house the county's new 911 call center in the academy? So this lower part of this building here is the 911 call center. You can see their huge tower that, there for communications, and
their backup generator with somehow we had a loss of power, we could keep the county protected and safe.
Yes, and this becomes the command center. If we ever have another natural disaster, then we become the command center, and I'll show you upstairs in the criminal justice pathway how we can convert everything from 911 on the ground floor up through criminal justice on the top floor to an operating command center for the sheriff's office and our emergency responders.
And what a great way to partner, because I had heard Superintendent Reese back when she was in say, we looked for property for a while for this, and it's hard to find the right property, and more importantly, it's hard to find a good price on a piece of property.
Yes.
And you know, everybody works within budgets. So yes, the commission partnered and did this because they knew it would benefit for the county. So, you know, that's here again, that's what we're all about, is partnering and making sure that it's what's best for the community as a whole.
Yes. Let's go to health science. So you'll notice students here, and when the school's full, the students just congregate here. It's much like a college campus.
Yeah.
So it really has that vibe for our students that they are in a college. And I will tell you, in the year that I've been here, I have picked up 2 pieces of paper. So our students are really taking pride in their school. You'll notice there's, you know, it still looks like it's brand new.
It does. It does.
So you're going to see the chairs up on tables because we're getting ready for cleaning over the summer, but I will tell you, we are so proud of our health science labs. Our partners in this lab are CHI Memorial Hospital and Primary Health Care. And then Hamilton Medical Center also came on board to interview our students. So this is not a dual enrollment pathway. Our students in this pathway are actually participating in dual enrollment for academics that we'll see upstairs. But our students are earning those industry credentials of value that are so necessary in the healthcare world. I mean, you hear all the time about the struggle they're having with filling those positions. And, you know, I'm getting at the age that those people are going to need to be taking care of me.
That's it. That's everybody, right? I'm getting there too. So, yeah, you always hear about, you know, I could always say nurses were always and still are in high demand. It's hard to get those positions. And we just went through the pandemic and it was even harder for folks. So, you know, my first impression, Marissa, when I walked in here was the fact that, oh my gosh, this looks exactly what it would look like if I was at Erlanger or Memorial or Park Ridge, any of the hospitals. It is an exact replica. And so it's amazing that it's incredible. They're getting real, live, hands-on experience exactly the way it would be in an actual hospital. And the commitment financially, here again, to put this pathway together, just says so much about everything you have going on here.
So let me tell you a little bit about what our students have achieved. So in their first semester, they have the opportunity to earn their medical assistant certificate and their phlebotomy certificate.
Wow.
In the second semester, they can earn patient care technician and electronic medical records certification. And those are all things that students can get jobs with. So CHI Memorial Hospital hired 8 of our students.
Out of your first class.
Yes. So all the students in this pathway are seniors, but that is helping CHI fulfill that critical requirement that they have to get healthcare workers into the hospital.
Sure, and we've got a brand new hospital being built right down here across the road almost, and those jobs will be needed as well. So what a great partnership in our community.
We're so excited about it, and those students are making $20 to $22 an hour at 18 years old.
That's just, yeah, incredible. This is amazing, Marissa. Really is. On to the next.
So Hamilton Medical Center has currently hired 3, and they have some others in the interview process.
That's amazing. It's just touched so many lives. There's so many kids. You know, when I went through school, these opportunities weren't available to me. And so, you know, for now to be able to offer a pathway, you know, some kids are like, I really don't know what I'm going to do. And they come in here and they take this and they get their hands into it and they're like, this is what I want to do. And they learn that early on. I think a lot of folks get a little lost for a little bit and they just don't know.
Well, and I want you to see right here, you can see our flags here, and it says, my future starts here. And so that is so true for our students, that their future does start here. We had 88 seniors graduate. 30% of them have jobs.
Wow.
4.5% are enlisted in the military, and about 60%, I believe, are enrolled. So we want to say that our students' future starts here, and they're going to leave here enlisted, employed, or enrolled.
That's amazing.
In post-secondary education.
Yes.
So this is a partnership with Dalton State College, and in this pathway, our health science students and our advanced academic students have the opportunity to earn their college science credits while they're still in high school. So this has been something that our parents really appreciate, because not everybody wants their 17-year-olds driving to Dalton on the interstate and then being in college with much older students. So they can get their college credit here completely free, no books, fees, or tuition, and they can do college work with high school students in their own school system. And we provide transportation from the home school to here for our students that don't drive.
That's amazing. So I see the screen over there. So is there an instructor here, or sometimes is there an instructor that's actually down at the school that'll do it over? How's that work here, Marissa?
Okay, this class always has an in-person instructor.
Okay.
I'm going to show you another Dalton State College classroom though that doesn't. So we'll be walking there next.
The wonders of technology.
And Richard, I appreciate that you came to our courting and signing ceremony last week for our students. And I don't know if you remember, but in my presentation, I actually discussed how much money we were able to keep in our community by our students taking advantage of dual enrollment. So that kept $290,000 in the hands of our families.
That's amazing. Yeah, and see, that just helps everybody, gives them a jump start. Like you said, there's no books, no tuition fees, and they're getting college level credits while they're still in high school. That's amazing.
Yeah, Georgia allows students to get 30 hours of college credit completely free. And so, hey, I like savings, and I'd say don't leave any money on the table.
That's right. Well, it helps them. I remember when I was going, the first 2 years, it seems like you're still back in high school because you're still getting history and science and math and all the English. So everybody's always interested. We want to get to what are we going to be, those next 2 years or 4 years. And so this gives them that jump start where they're not having to struggle through those next 2 years. They can get a jump start and get closer to getting in their lane and what they're going to do in life.
Well, and I think it also helps students to have the opportunity to, I call it scaffolding, to college level work while they're still living in their parents' house.
Sure.
Because sometimes mom and dad may have to push you a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when you go off to college and experience complete freedom, that's something that they've never really had before. So I think it's a great opportunity for them to transition to being college students while they're still in high school.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So Richard, this is the technology that you were asking me about. So Dalton State College was able to get a grant for this technology. It's interactive. So this is like if you go to a church where you have live stream. However, this one's interactive. So this one is typically taught from Dalton, but the teacher can interact with our students so they can get their general education credits right here while they're home, while they're in high school. And once again, I just love that word free.
I do too. And the partnership is just amazing too with Dalton State.
Sometimes the teacher comes here and live streams back to Dalton State College, but wherever the teacher is, the students can interact with the teacher. And then we have one of our teachers that just sits in here with the students to make sure that they stay on track. If they have any questions or need any help, we've got a live person in here as well.
That's great.
And you mentioned partnerships, and I would say that that's really what this school is all about, is partnerships between our community members, our businesses, and to support our students. And it's just the most wonderful thing.
It is. The look on their faces and the parents in the audience, because I was in the back of the room at the courting, the students, you could just see the pride in them. But the parents, it was just something that they never thought their children would have accessibility to. Their pride was just immense as well. So it was just phenomenal. That was a very touching ceremony.
And maybe as we walk, we talk about the courting ceremony.
Sure.
Because as you know, each of our students, when they earn industry credentials or when they graduate as a senior after being in this program, they get cords that they can wear at their graduation ceremony. So at our high school graduations next week, parents are going to see green cords, green and white cords, green and gold cords, teal cord that are all from the College and Career Academy and Georgia Northwestern Technical College.
That's amazing.
So this pathway also represents a learning experience for us. We actually applied for the grant 2 years, that's typical, and I will tell you, when I go to talk to college and career academies that aren't funded their first year, I call it the blessing of not being funded, because you don't know what you don't know the first time. Sure. Then the second time you learn, and we actually came out with a business plan. But our logistics, distribution, and supply chain management was something we learned by doing additional research. Did you know that 80% of the nation's freight travels through Chattanooga, Tennessee? And we have more freight distribution facilities than anywhere else in the United States.
See, I didn't know that. I'm sure a lot of folks like myself didn't know that either.
So we have this pathway. We're trying to help students understand in our high schools, to recruit them for this pathway, the opportunities that are actually available for them. We have great partners here as well, Covenant Transport and the Thrive Regional Partnership. So this is, we're just trying to help educate our students, because every industry has logistics and supply chain management.
They sure do. I've been a part of that in the past, and it's a highly skilled job. It's not as easy as what people think that is. And I didn't know we had so much freight came through Chattanooga. I see the trains, I see the Covenant and U.S. Express and all that, but I had no idea. 80%. Wow, that's phenomenal.
And these are very well-paying jobs.
Well, that's always better too, right? It's great.
Next, we're going to go into our teaching as a profession classroom. The school system, like other employers, we're seeing the need to grow our own. So we are growing our own teachers here and teaching them the Catoosa way. So our students actually earn academic credit from Georgia Northwestern or Dalton State College, and then our Director of Human Resources came and taught them a class, so they were able to leave here with a substitute certificate, because we are desperate for subs all the time.
Sure.
And if our students can have the opportunity to, get that certificate, maybe come back and sub in an elementary classroom, then we're getting them prepared for the future. The teaching profession is a challenge.
Sure.
Fewer students are going into this pathway in college, and they typically leave in 1 to 3 years. So we feel like if we can help get them really ready before they go in, make sure they understand what the expectations are going to be, and teach them how we do it in Catoosa County, that we are going to help them stay in the profession longer.
I think it will happen, because all too often they don't know what's coming. So like you said, you're bridging that and giving them just enough where they know this is what I want. And so that's great. It's a great foundation for them to work for. And like you said, teachers are the backbone of our school system.
Well, they're the backbone of our society.
Absolutely. I agree with that too.
And as I mentioned to you downstairs with the social contracts, we do that as part of being a Capturing Kids' Heart school. So we're teaching our students, by the way we model instruction, how you implement that process. And that really gives them some good handlebars on behavior management.
Wow, that's great.
This is our IT and cybersecurity pathway. So once again, like logistics, this is a pathway that almost every industry needs somebody that can help, manage their networks, monitor for potential security breaches. We have our own servers over there, so our students can learn how to hack without shutting everything down.
Wow, that's great. Here again, the technology in here. World class.
Hey, Nick. What? Here, do you need these?
And you're right, there's so much of a need now in our society, obviously, for IT and cybersecurity. I mean, every day we hear about another company that has lost information, personal information for people, and it's a huge financial hit to every company now that has that happen. So cybersecurity is definitely a pathway that's always going to be there in our society now, that we're just there. IT and cybersecurity is there. So here again, what a great way for them to get a head start on this. Beautiful. This is amazing, Marissa.
Our last pathway that we're going to see before we go into our professional skills development is criminal justice. And if you remember, Richard, when I showed you where the 911 call center is,
yes,
we're right on top of it now.
Okay.
So we don't have access to that part of our building. They haven't moved in yet, but even when students aren't here, it's just our practice that all of our doors are locked. So, partnerships, once again. This pathway is a partnership with our Sheriff, Gary Sisk. So, Sheriff Sisk came to us 2 years ago, I guess, and we piloted our pathway with him last year at Ringgold High School. So Sheriff Sisk was having challenges with finding entry-level people. They start in the jail. So the detention officer certificate was restricted to 18-year-olds. And Sheriff Sisk said, if I can get the Georgia Post to change the rules, would you partner with me to teach 17-year-olds this curriculum, and then they can test when they're 18? And he said that he'd pay them $39,000 a year.
Wow.
To start at 18 years old. So we're like, of course, this is good for our students, it's good for you, it's something that's critical in our community. So he actually comes in, some of his officers, and teach the curriculum sometime. Last year, I think he hired 5 students. This year, I think he's looking to hire 4 or 5. So it's a wonderful partnership. And then you see, these are the 911 stations that are identical to the ones that are downstairs, that are the real-life stations. And our students are going to be able to learn on these on a delay. So they're going to see the actual software and everything that our 911 communications officers see. And we're working to have that certificate offered here as well. And just for the students to learn to multitask and, that's a lot for somebody to have to watch.
There's 6 monitors there. That's a little overwhelming.
Be able to interact with those things. And then, as I mentioned downstairs, if we have a natural disaster, with the flip of the switch, these stations go live. The sheriff and emergency management would take over this space, and they have additional places for incident command.
Wow, it's amazing.
So this is the 911 area. You'll see we have a driving simulator, so our students can learn how to drive in high-speed situations. They can also learn how to safely pull somebody over, like at a traffic stop. And then we have our shooting simulator, or it's actually a use of force simulator. So it's not just all about shooting and hitting targets. It's for our students to be able to interact with it's almost like a game system, but to interact with it.
But it's almost a real life situation where they're getting into that stressful situation where they know how to act. And here again, if you do that over and over and you kind of condition yourself, when you're in that situation, you could manage your emotions and make things turn out the way that everybody wants, which is a positive experience. So that's amazing.
So this is for them to learn how to de-escalate.
Yes. Wow. Well, Marissa, this has just been an amazing tour.
So we got one more.
One more, and save the best for last, right?
Hey, I always say I'm saving the best for last. One thing I want you to call your attention to our magic poster here. This poster is in every one of our classrooms. So, we started with magic in the commons area, and then this is reinforced throughout our school, in every classroom, every day, and our magic host and hostesses that do the morning announcements. Each day we have a different letter of magic that they're talking about.
And here again, I see the social contracts in here like there are in every pod. This is it's great. Like you said, it's the soft skills that are just as important as these hard skills they're learning.
And then we have a forensics area over here.
That's great.
Once again, here's our magic. This is Mr. Jones, who's our professional skills development teacher. He's going to kill me because he wasn't prepared for this.
No, yeah, we caught him with gloves on and cleaning up the pod here.
Exactly,
exactly. No.
But like I said, that was one of the things when we started this school that we were told over and over and over again was that our students don't have the work ethic, soft skills, and so we call it professional skills now. And they're not just for the workplace, they're for life. So Mr. Jones has developed a curriculum that's just for us. He got certified in emotional intelligence training.
Wow. And
developed a curriculum that focuses on emotional intelligence skills. And we think that this may be unique to us, certainly in Georgia, but maybe even in the United States. So let's get one of his books and take a look at it.
Let's do that.
their year one training there.
Okay. So see, we have this for year one, ABCs for Gen Z, and we have modules that go A through Z in the alphabet. So, do you want to choose one of those that you...
Let's just flip through. So gaining respect right out of the gate. I will treat others with respect and they will respect me. So here again, just the skill levels that they need, not just I'm not going to learn how to weld. I'm going to learn life skills as well here at the College and Career Academy, where I know how to interact with people, how to gain their respect by respecting them. And so absolutely, Marissa, this is phenomenal because you're right. This sometimes doesn't get taught in the home like we need it to be. One person can make a difference. I can change the world. I mean, these are just absolutely amazing things that our kids are learning. And these soft skills, as we call them, are just absolutely what's needed. Commitment. Oh, yeah, that's a huge one. I will commit to personal excellence driven by a passionate spirit.
Okay, so you'll notice that each module has a picture because our students are very image driven. So do you have any idea what that picture might mean for commitment?
I don't. So what we're seeing here is some eggs, some bacon. It's almost to me like a BLT sandwich, but no. So what do we have there?
Okay, well, there are some animals that contributed to this breakfast.
Absolutely.
One of them made a commitment to this breakfast. Which one was that?
I would probably say the pig.
Yes, because the pig had to give it all.
That's right.
So
the chicken had to give a little for the eggs, but the pig gave it all. Absolutely.
and we like butter, so the cow gave the milk to make the butter. We have 3 contributors and 1 that made a commitment.
Wow. Beliefs are nothing more than meaningless words without commitment. Now, this is phenomenal. So, yes, I mean, to teach this, you don't see this. I didn't see this kind of class when I went through school. But how important is it that we had to go out on our own and try to learn this along the way? And for me in the business world, you know, that took a lot of training and courses and things to get me to here. But now our kids come out of school and they have this skill already available to them. And how much further are they going to go in life, not just in their business world, but their personal life because of this opportunity? That's amazing. Really is.
So this is year 1, and then obviously we're starting year 2, so Mr. Jones has developed a more in-depth course in emotional intelligence for our students and the strategic interview process.
Oh, yes. Now that's a skill everybody needs to have, right? When you get into the job play, you might have excellent skills, but if you don't have the interview skills that it takes to communicate effectively, a lot of folks get left behind, unfortunately. So that's amazing.
And so we've had lots of parents and businesses when they go through this to say, hey, I need to learn these things too. And so Mr. Jones does have an adult class that he teaches at different times during the year for 6 weeks so that people in businesses and parents, if they want, can come and learn more about what their kids are learning.
Now I can see why you said you saved the best for last, because this is something that you just don't see this curriculum being taught the way it needs to be, I think.
Well, and we believe that if students get this, that they can be successful in anything. If they have these emotional intelligence skills, if they learn how to manage their behavior, how to interact with other people, that they can be successful in any of their pursuits.
I agree. So we're going to head back to the studio. We're going to lay out how this came to be, what it takes for you to have this opportunity for your children, because, you know, like anything in life, you have to earn it, right? So we're going to talk about all that in the studio. Marissa, thank you so much for taking us on this wonderful tour here, and we'll see you back at the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's just break this down to the simplest truth.
All right, so welcome into the studio. So a little different format this week, right? We started over at the tour of the College and Career Academy. Now for you folks, it just happened. For us, it's actually been a few weeks, but things are going on. So now we're sitting back here with Marissa, and Marissa is going to tell us, like you folks want to know, is, you know, how do you participate and how did this get started and all these great things. So now that you've seen what it has to offer there at the College and Career Academy, we could talk about how you can have your child participate, because I know that's a big question. And so we'll kind of go through that and get educated with everybody there. So Marissa, I'm going to turn it over to you, and just wherever you want to start as far as, you know. where it all started or what?
Well, I'm trying to remember, as you said, it's been a little bit since we did the tour,
Sure.
and I love doing that. And I'm so glad that everybody at home is going to get to have a look inside from the comfort of their home. But so I will kind of go back to the beginning.
Sure.
Catoosa County Public Schools became a Georgia charter system in 2016. And that was an interesting process because charter systems, one of the distinguishing factors is that they have local school governance teams. And we chose to apply for this status because we felt like it was important to have parents, community input into our schools. So every one of our schools has a local school governance team.
Okay.
So from that, when we presented our application to the state, they said, well, your next project is to open a college and career academy. So we began a feasibility study in, I would say, early 2017. So this has been a long time coming.
Sure.
So we began the feasibility study in 2017. We had community meetings. Actually, we had some at the Renaissance, and to make sure that this was something that the community really supported. And then we decided in 2018 to apply for a $3 million grant from the Technical College System of Georgia. It's a very competitive grant, and it usually takes 2 years to receive the grant. So we wrote an application in 2018, submitted it, and then I said we went from worst to first. So in 2019, our grant was funded. We actually had the highest score they had ever had on the grant at that
Wow.
point in time. But then we actually had a business plan. So there was a lot of work in identifying the pathways that are high demand in our region. So we wanted to make sure that we started out with saying we wanted kids to connect to their brilliance, because I believe that every student is brilliant, but not all of them are brilliant sitting in an English class.
Right.
So if we can, and what we've discovered is that if you can give students the opportunity to do things with their hands, to actually be applying what they're learning, then they become brilliant.
Sure.
So that was part of our strategy, but the other was to connect employers to a talent pipeline. And I would say most every person watching this knows somebody that's struggling to get employees. And we wanted to make sure that we were providing the talent that our local employers need to continue economic prosperity.
Yeah, and that's always the hardest thing. In anybody, if you go talk to any business owner, the number one thing they struggle with is employees and retention of employees. But more importantly, finding good employees. And you know, that's the lifeblood of any business, is you've got to have the people. And so, sure, I've always heard that, if they could find a good pool to draw from, that's fantastic. And so we talked about Sheriff Sisk and his pathway that was created because he had a need. But now he gives folks, these kids can come in and learn while they're in school. And I came in and took my first tour, and they were actually in the auditorium, so to speak, there on the right. And they were sitting there with the bags and learning how to do defensive maneuvers and things like that. So it's incredible. So yeah, that's just so key, is trying to connect employers to a pathway with folks that need good jobs. And a lot of people, I know as a kid, when I was going through high school, we're kind of lost in what we want to be. Some kids are blessed, and I look at them today, they're like, I always wanted to be a veterinarian, or I always wanted to be a doctor, or I always wanted to go into military service. They always knew, and I was always jealous of those kids, because I'm like, wow, how great would it have been to just all of a sudden there's something inside of you that says, this is what I want to do. But there are kids like that. And so when they find out that they have a pathway at the College and Career Academy, it's like the light bulb goes off. And so that's phenomenal what's going on over there. So let's talk about now, because this is the biggest thing, is how can I, if I'm a parent watching, how can I get my child to participate, and what's that process look like? And I know there's different things there. So let's talk about that, because I know that's huge with folks out there that are watching.
So, our 8th grade students have an opportunity to tour the academy, which I think is great for them to see what we have there, so they can kind of say, is that something that I might be interested in? Then we do a great class in 9th grade, and it's actually called From Here to Career. That was something that came out of our grant application process, and Georgia has access to very comprehensive aptitude and interest assessment. It's called U-Science. And so our 9th grade students take the U-Science assessment, and I said it helps them understand what their brain is programmed for and what their interests are. And it's amazing how young people today don't always know what they're interested in. They know they're interested in being on social media.
Sure, yeah.
But, they may not know exactly what their interests are. So this is a great assessment that says, okay, your brain is programmed for this, and these are things you like, and here are some good fit careers for you. So I will tell you that I took the U-Science assessment myself. And so my first career was in sales and marketing. So
Go figure.
Yes. So I was, in sales in Chattanooga, and did a great job, made some really good money, but I wasn't fulfilled. And so then I went back and got my master's degree in special ed, taught at Graysville, and loved it, and then ended up going to the superintendent's office with Miss Reese. So my U-Science assessment says that education is my best fit career. So while I was good in sales, it wasn't fulfilling for me because I was not working, in my best fit.
Sure.
So for a 9th grader to have the opportunity to have this resource, I think is amazing. And so the U-Science assessment is one of the tools that we use when students apply for a pathway to see, okay, is this a good fit for this student? And another thing that's important is their grades. So the majority of our pathways are dual enrollment with Georgia Northwestern Technical College, and so they require a 2.0. So a 2.0 to me is attainable.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when we're talking to students about it when they're in 9th grade. And I think that's a great time to begin the conversation with them because they've never had a GPA before. And so to me, it's an incentive. So if they come in, they see our welding lab, construction lab, machine tool lab, and they're like, this is what I know that I want to do, then they've got time in 9th and 10th grade to get that solid GPA. At 2.0, we'd like to see them go higher.
Sure, but it's such an attainable bar. It's not. We're not trying to raise the bar to exclude a lot of kids. I mean, 2.0 is absolutely a solid GPA to achieve above that.
Yes.
And we talked about it because, my son went into the Air Force, and first thing that he did was take a similar test to figure out what it is that his interests were. And then they aligned him with a pathway. So I think so if the parent wants to have that, with the child or the parent, how would they say, hey, my child's interested in taking the U-Science? How would that go about?
So every Catoosa County student takes the U-Science assessment in 9th grade.
Okay.
And I tell parents, I always ask parents, what grade your kid in? And if they haven't taken the U-Science, I say, well, when they're in 9th grade, make sure that they share their U-Science results with you. And if they've already taken it, the student has access to their U-Science assessment for several years, even after they graduate.
Okay.
So it is just such a phenomenal tool. It also tells you things about yourself and your personality, and some things that you may need to be aware of so that you can work better with other people. It gives them phrases to use about themselves to use on resumes. Like it will tell you if you're an deductive or inductive reasoning, all those kind of characteristics. So it's a great tool, and I'm glad that we have access to it in Georgia for free.
Absolutely. I know a lot of employers, not just the military, but a lot of employers employ those kinds of tests when they're looking as a recruiting tool as well to try to make sure they put them in the right places. And then it also tells the employer where an employee may be a little weaker in some of their strengths, and so they can put those people in the right places. So that's important. So if they're watching it and they're saying, well, my child's fixing to be a sophomore, they can go back and get those results and come forward. So
yes,
absolutely.
And so we were talking about, the process for getting in. So the U-Science and making sure it's a good fit, the GPA to meet Georgia Northwestern's eligibility requirements. And then also behavior is going to be a factor because, we do not have the opportunity, or we just don't have anywhere to handle,
disciplinary things.
Exactly.
But I think people, when they watch the tour that we just went through, they see on the walls and everywhere the focus that you have at the academy
Yes.
about working together and teammates and being accountable and all that. So, yeah.
And so that has not been a problem.
No. Yeah.
Well, and when you were talking about the walls and everything, let's talk about our professional skills development, because that is the culture of From Here to Career Academy. And when I was interviewing, over those several years interviewing businesses, every person, every industry said that young people do not have, they call them soft skills.
That's right.
And work ethics. We call them professional skills.
Sure.
But they do not have the skills to be successful in the workplace and, even in life. So I was very fortunate to identify someone in our community, Keith Jones, and he had retired from Unum, and he had done some work with training and onboarding, and he developed a curriculum that is unique to us, and it's called the ABCs of Gen Z. So we start with A and accept responsibility. I will accept responsibility for my decisions. And so that is a great thing. And then a couple of years ago, we sent him to Talent Smart's emotional intelligence training. So now the newest version of our professional skills development is really based in emotional intelligence skills. They say that EQ is more important than IQ to predict your success. And so every student in every pathway participates in this class for an hour or 45 minutes every week and learns these emotional intelligence skills that they need to be successful.
Yeah, and that was actually the last pod we finished off with on our tour, and we were showing them the manuals and things like that. So that's something that's just not talked about enough, is I can teach you how to weld or I can teach you how to do IT, but what's not taught are those soft skills, how to get along with other employees, how to be accountable for yourself, all those things. And those aren't taught in schools. There's a lot of things that we talk about that aren't taught in schools that we think would be more beneficial, where it be, finances or things like that aren't talked about. But the soft skills are the absolute, because that translates not only to your professional life, but into your personal life. So we're setting these kids up for huge success by doing what you're talking about with that pathway, with that. It's amazing.
Well, and the College and Career Academy has a board of directors that makes decisions for the academy. We had a meeting and a training this morning, and we asked that group. So the majority of them are from business and industry or the community. And we asked that group, what are the values that are important to you? What is the portrait of a graduate that you would want to hire from the academy? And they gave us, their ideas like, respect, of course, and communication, those things. And so then we aligned those with our modules from the ABCs for Gen Z. And we came up with accept responsibility, commitment, gain respect, integrity, and message. And so when, I had them all in alphabetical order, and we were in a meeting, and Mr. Jones looks at it and says, "Oh, that spells magic." So we say that the College and Career Academy is where the magic happens. And that is truly how we relate to each other. And that's how the students relate to each other. If we have to correct behavior, we'll say, was that magic? How could you improve your message? And we think that those are things that will translate into the workplace so that they will continue and understand and have, an understanding of what's important.
Sure.
And then have the ability to communicate how they're feeling and to manage those things.
Great. So what grade level do they start at the College and Career Academy?
So they can attend the College and Career Academy as a junior and senior.
Okay.
So in 10th grade, they take a tour and they can pre-register in 10th grade. And then they can attend, like I said, as a junior or senior. We really like to get them when they're juniors so that they can stay in the cohort for 2 years. And they're actually going through it as a cohort. And the great thing, we piloted a mechatronics pathway at GA GNTC in 2019, and that pathway is still there. We wanted to be good stewards of taxpayer resources, and since that lab was already there and it's state of the art, we're continuing to use that. But the students that graduated from that pathway, and they are from all different high schools, they are like the best of friends because they made a connection with people that were interested in the same thing as
That's right.
them.
Yeah. I see that with my son. Here again, he got out and he still keeps track and touch with everybody that he went through boot camp and everything with. You know, when you bond in an experience like that, it's an intense experience. It forges friendships for a lifetime. So they could start as you want them in there as a junior and a senior. And so now parents may say, do I have to take them? And so I know the answer to that, but walk that through. How many days a week and how does that work?
Okay, so our students come 5 days a week, half the day. So they're at their homeschool half the day and they're at the academy half the day. We also have the online academy in the College and Career Academy. So if they choose to do, online learning in association with the Career Academy, that's an option also. So they come half the day and we provide transportation from their homeschool or the students may drive.
Perfect. So if I'm a parent and I drive my child to school, I would still take them to their homeschool, Ringgold, LFO, Heritage, wherever that is, just like I normally would. And I would pick them up at the end of the day like I normally would. And if they ride the bus, same routine. Once they're at their homeschool, that's where they get transported over to the College and Career Academy and then back. So that's great.
And so they can still participate, sports, band, extracurricular activities, see their, typical, friends and everything. It's just that for half the day they're at the Career Academy.
Perfect. So another question that came up, and we talked about this before, was there are some folks in the county that homeschool. And so I got asked the question about, hey, if we take that path, is the College and Career Academy closed to us? And you had a phenomenal answer for that.
So students, like a homeschool student would have to enroll, and I would have to confirm, I think it's just one class through Catoosa County Public Schools. And then they're eligible to attend the College and Career Academy. So, and I relate to people who might be concerned about their child, their baby, if you will, being in, with other students. I understand that and I respect that. So that again is an opportunity that they can enroll through the online academy. And so they're at home seeing what their kids are learning and they're overseeing them. And then they would come to the academy for part of the day.
So it's open to everybody. And that was a question that people are like, well, wait a minute, did I close the door for my child by homeschooling? The answer is no, you did not. They have the opportunity as well. So it's open to everybody. And that's the great thing. I mean, it's not open to everybody in the sense, it's open to everybody that, here again, you talked about GPA and you talked about the process. So that's great. And you just had the first class graduate. So that's phenomenal too in itself. And I was able to be there for that first one. And it's just, what an experience.
Well, it was phenomenal. So as you were able to observe, we had a courting and a signing ceremony. So every student that completes a GNTC certificate or an industry credential of value gets a cord. And so if you guys were out there, went to a graduation, you saw green cords, green and white cords, green and gold cords, teal cords, that lets you know that student has been to the Career Academy. So for every certificate they complete, they get a cord. But the great thing to me about that day was the signing part. So, we made the commitment to the community when we opened the College and Career Academy to actually have our students enrolled in college. So for the majority of our pathways are dual enrollment, and our students are in college because we think that we need to raise the level of rigor so they're prepared to continue post-secondary education or to actually go in the workplace with skills. So the signing part of the ceremony was for the students who had been hired by industries in our local community. So 31.25% of, and that quarter is important to me.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But, so 31% of our students actually left the Career Academy with a job in their pathway.
That's incredible.
And let me tell you, Richard, these are good paying jobs.
Oh, yeah. No,
So
definitely.
I think the average that they're making is around $18 an hour. And I calculated that out, that if the students were working full time, and not all of them will be, but they have that potential to be working full time. So if they were working full time, that would be putting almost $1.1 million back in our economy. And then when we're talking about dual enrollment, and just to make sure people understand, dual enrollment means that you can earn high school and college credit at the same time. So the students are actually enrolled in Georgia Northwestern Technical College or Dalton State College. And Georgia allows you to earn 30 hours of college credit completely free. So that means no books, fees, tuition, completely free. Tuition, you think, oh, that's, going to be expensive. I have seen the bill for the books.
Okay.
Sometimes the books can be more expensive.
That's right.
So, I calculated that out too. And that was a savings of $290,000 for the parents and the families that participated in this. And so based on the number of students, I said, that's about $1,800 per family. And I said, I know that's not a ton of money, but there's not many places putting money back in your pocket.
No. And more importantly to me, I think if you have a child that's excelling and they feel like they're kind of like, I've got to go through the high school, I've got to go through these 4 years, but they're really ready to get on with their life and get on to that secondary education. This gives them a chance. It's like they skipped a step. Once they get past and they graduate high school, it's like I'm already into my second year. It's like almost past my first year of college. I'm already head start and on my way to get to those last years where I'm actually taking what I'm going to be doing, whether it's, a doctor or a veterinarian or just, a CPA, anything that is that they can get, that gets them there faster. And I think a lot of kids see the value in that because it's like, I feel like I'm ready and I want to go and I'm being held back, but they're not. This is a great opportunity for them to get that head start, jump start on their college career.
Right. Well, and, we've talked about our pathway dual enrollment. We also do academic dual enrollment, which I think is a great thing. We have a partnership with Dalton State College. So we have a science lab for those students who want those advanced academics in science, and for our health care students so that they can get their college science out of the way while they're in high school. And then we also have an academic classroom where Dalton State had gotten a grant and they installed the technology. So it's not just a live stream, it's interactive. So our students are interacting with the teacher, and sometimes the teacher will come and they'll record back to Dalton State. So what the classes that are being offered at Dalton State, families here can take advantage of that and not have to put their child on the road to Dalton. Sure. And not put them on, a typical college campus. So our dual enrollment is twofold. It prepares students with the technical college credits and certificates they need to go straight into the workplace. And also we have the opportunity for academic students who are going to pursue those advanced degrees to get 30 hours, which I think is basically their first year.
It almost is.
That's a huge savings. And I love dual enrollment because, sometimes the first time when kids go away from home, experience their first taste of freedom, they may not know how to manage their time well.
Absolutely.
So I think this is helping to scaffold them from high school level work to college level work while they're still at home with mom and dad. And mom and dad can say, hey, have you finished that assignment? Are you doing everything you need to do? So we're kind of like just loosening the reins a little bit while they're still at home.
That's it.
But it's interesting, when we're talking about, getting degrees, the last statistics I read were 1 to 7. So for every one job in America that requires a master's degree, there are 2 that require a bachelor's degree and 7 that require some college, but not a 4-year degree. And those are called middle skills jobs. So that is where our economy is headed, is more to those middle skills jobs that include, machining, welding, construction, and some of our other pathways.
Oh, and healthcare is always one. My goodness, they can never keep enough nurses and things like that.
Well,
that's just
And that's very exciting to me too, because in our health science program, that is not dual enrollment. Most of our health science students are enrolled in Dalton State academics, but they can earn certificates while they're at the academy. So we prepare them to take the test. And so far with community support, we've been able to pay for the test. So in the first semester, our students can get phlebotomy and medical assistant. And both of those are living wage jobs, even if they decide they don't want to become a doctor or a nurse. Second semester, they get their patient care tech, which is similar to a CNA that maybe more people have heard of, but they are employable in the hospital setting. And then they can earn a medical records certificate. So we had quite a few students, as you saw, that earned all 4 of those. And the majority of our health science students, 8 of them are going to work for Memorial Hospital. And I think 5 are going to work at Hamilton Medical. And they're making between $20 and $22 an hour at 18 years old. Yeah. So those are,
they're much needed jobs.
Yes. Well, and like you said, health science is one of the highest demand, I would say. And, I'm getting at that age. I want somebody there to take care of me.
That's right.
I'm going to be visiting those, having more things that I have to have done. So for us to be able, to put those employees in those entry-level positions that our hospitals are desperate for is very rewarding. And I think as we're talking about that, that's another thing that's important about the Career Academy is partnerships. Because it is very important to me that the students who want jobs have the opportunity to at least interview and then the potential to be hired. So none of what we do there could happen without partnerships. And I think you've probably heard me say that several times, the partnerships with our colleges, the partnerships with our community, and the partnerships with our industry. An interesting thing that I meant to bring up earlier when we were talking about the grant, because I am the CEO of the College and Career Academy. And I'm sure people think, why in the world does a school need a CEO? And it's for that very reason that I was just discussing, the partnerships, because my job is to spend the majority of my time out in the community, out in businesses, understanding what their needs are and being able to make sure that we're training to meet the needs that are actually in their industry. So our business partners have a huge voice in what we do. And then another part of what I do is bring in outside financial support. So my goal is that for our consumable supplies, metal, plywood, all those things that, we're going to use and then you have to repurchase. I am working very hard to make sure that we can sustain ourselves with outside contributions. And then we also have the Peach Education Tax Credit opportunity. But that's important to me.
Because you hear a lot of times people in the community that are like, oh, there's just another place our tax dollars are going. And but that's not, you're just not over there take. I mean, you're out there trying to be self-sufficient, which is great. But what we're giving back to our children is just phenomenal. And then it helps the folks in the community. So we know CHI Memorial is going to build a new hospital.
Oh, we can't wait.
I mean, a stone's throw away from the College and Career Academy. But those are jobs that are going to need to be, filled in the community, right? Because we much needed a hospital back in our community because the commute to Chattanooga, everybody knows when you go up I-75 trying to get through 20, it's just a nightmare, right? And if you've got somebody in need, you want to have a hospital in our community. So I think that was great that it's getting brought back to our community, but they're going to need jobs filled. So here again, what a partnership and an opportunity for them. And they see that. And I know that's what you do. You go and say, hey, here's the value in it. And so they help maybe give supplies or things that are needed. And that's a great way for them to get something back. But also it helps the taxpayer in the community because we're not footing the bill for the whole thing. So I commend you for that.
CHI is a great example too, because, we can use their supplies that go out of date.
Oh, that's right.
So, they everything has an expiration date on it. So, but we can use those. So when our students did phlebotomy the first semester, and so next year, first semester, we'll be out looking for people that we can stick. Each student has to have 30 successful sticks.
Oh, wow.
So that's a lot of needles. So that's successful. So, it's going to take a little while to get some successful ones,
Sure.
but they were amazing. The students were absolutely amazing. I was stuck several times. But that's a lot of needles and the blood draw kits. So they were able to help us with that need. And it was with the things that they had purchased that had expired. So, and medical especially. And then we have industries that are like for welding, they'll give us scrap metal and we can use those things. So we are very much partnered with them for the supplies that we need to keep our pathways going.
That's just great forward thinking. It really is. So, yeah, I mean, we've taken a tour. We now have kind of figured out what it takes for your child to participate. What else do we need to let them know, Marissa?
Well, if you'll remember, one of the things that I talked about at the courting ceremony was the number of our students that are enlisted, employed, and enrolled. So we had 4.6% of our students enlisted in the military. As I mentioned, 31.25% employed, and 54%, I believe, that are continuing post-secondary, both with GNTC, Dalton State, or another University System of Georgia school, or another school outside of Georgia in the university system. And I said I had read something that, this generation of students is going to wear military shoes, career shoes, or house shoes.
That's right.
Which means they're going to be sitting on mama's couch. So I said I was very proud of our students that they chose to wear the shoes of success. And so they're enlisted and employed, or they're going to be employed with, a higher degree. And I think that that's very important for us to be fulfilling the promise that we made to this community. A parent told me once, they said, I want my kid to move out of my house, but I don't really want them to move out of town.
Sure.
Because, and your wife was telling me about your grandchildren. So even more than the kids, when those grandkids come, you want your children close so you can see the grandbabies.
That's right.
And so that to me is an opportunity that something that we're contributing back to the community too. We're going to be able to help your kids get jobs so they can be out on their own, but we're going to connect them to the jobs so they can stay close in our community.
Yeah. And that is great. That is fantastic. Because I'd be doing a lot of traveling if the grandkids weren't close. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So it's a blessing to have them close by. But here again, they're all active in the community. I mean, like I said, our son went to the military, but he came back home and he's, finding great success in the community here from those skills he got. And so it's the same thing with the College and Career Academy. They get those great skills here. They partner with local businesses and folks, and it keeps them in the community. And, everybody likes that homegrown feel. That's what makes Catoosa County so great.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you for this. And this was just something I sat there after I took the tour and I thought, how can we get this out? Because if you don't see it, you just don't understand it. And normally, this is the first episode. We've stepped out of the studio here to go somewhere, but I thought it was so vitally important for them to see it visually. I'm always been a visual person myself, right? And so when I can see something, I comprehend it a lot better. And so now that they've been able to take the tour and see what it's all about, and then find out what it takes to be involved and all the work that went on for years to make this happen for Catoosa County, I think it's great. So, it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And I'm sure at some point you're just going to be like, oh my goodness, the demand outweighs what we're able to do. But that'll be a great problem to have. And that's down the road. So we just want to grow it the right way. And thank you all so much for what you do over there.
Well, it is truly my honor to have this position in Catoosa County Public Schools. I've been in the school system since 2001, and this will be where I retire. And I said, this is kind of like the cherry on top of my career.
Yeah. No, I could see that. Yeah. I mean, it's always something. I mean, yeah, I watched you with the courting ceremony and everything. The pride in every one of the administrators there was just tremendous. And it should be. I mean, you've touched their lives in a way that it wouldn't have happened without y'all. It just wouldn't have happened. And they know that, and they always appreciate that. And the parents as well. They know you did something for their child that otherwise would have never have happened.
Well, and that's truly my heart. That is my heart.
Yeah. So thank you. Well, until next time, have a great week, Sweet Home Catoosa, folks, and we'll be seeing you again here soon. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Will always be better
Sorry, I
than
kind of teared up there.